Welcome to Today in Prophecy, daily news in 15 minutes or less. I'm Tom Hughes. This first story asks the question, is Warren Buffett preparing for an economic collapse? Preparing for a crash, Warren Buffett has been selling off hundreds of millions of shares in 2024. Warren Buffett did not become a billionaire by being stupid. According to Forbes, Buffett is worth more than $144 billion, and that makes him one of the wealthiest men in the world. He has made his money in the stock market, and so why is he now pulling money out of the stock market at a feverish pace? Does he anticipate that a crash is coming? Earlier this year, Buffett shocked the investing community when his company sold off the Apple shares that it was holding. In the first quarter of 2024, Berkshire Hathaway sold over 100 million Apple shares, and in the second quarter, they sold an additional 390 million. But more recently, Berkshire Hathaway has been selling off Bank of America shares. Folks, as we look at something like this, certainly Warren Buffett knows a lot more about what's going on in the economy than just about anybody else on the planet. So you do got to wonder, what is he doing? Or is it just another business move? He just knows he's going to make more money by getting out of that and going over here. Or is he preparing for an economic collapse? Listen, there's a lot of talk about an economic collapse coming. We know that digital currency is going to arrive. Sooner or later, it's going to arrive. We don't know exactly when, but we do know it's going to arrive. We know we have this big UN meeting that's coming up in just a couple of weeks too. A lot more to say about that over the next couple of weeks. But you got to look at these things and go, what are the plans? We have an election coming. Is there a plan to collapse the economy? Listen, let's remind ourselves what the Bible does say. Economic collapses have always happened. There's always been challenges. But we also do know that there are economic collapses that are intentional. The economy can be used like a tool to bring about a type of war. So when we think of this, we think you could actually create a war against the nation by moving the economy the way you want to. You can subdue a people, you can lift up a people, you can do that with a city, you can do it with a county, you can do it with the whole country. So as you look at it, the economy is a tool in the hands of the really powerful people, but it's also a reminder where in Revelation chapter 6, you have the four horsemen of the apocalypse. You have the white horse, the red horse, the black horse, and the pale horse. When you come to the rider on the black horse, the Bible says this: when Jesus opened the third seal, this would be the third horse, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil or the wine." So here it is, the third horse of the apocalypse, or the third seal. Black is a representation of famine if you go back to the Old Testament. But either way, we know that through this event that takes place with the third seal, there is going to be an economic collapse, and there is going to be famine. It's going to be a day's wage for a loaf of bread, according to what we just read. Do not harm the oil or the wine. What is implied by that is that the elite, the people at the top that are controlling the economy, it's a planned collapse, a planned takedown. Do not harm the oil or the wine. So the oil or the wine represent the elite class, and everybody else is devastated. It ushers in this ruling class where everyone is subdued because of what is done with the economy. So when I look at something like this, listen, economies go up, economies go down. There's always collapses. There's booms and there's busts. There's bear markets, there's bull markets. But ultimately, we got to remember that our hope is in the Lord. I was asked just the other day at a conference, where should I invest all of my money? I said, this is what I would do if I don't know how much the person had. They didn't tell me that. And I said, listen, it's always wise to diversify, but when something like this does take place, a digital currency does come in, listen, you've got to understand the most valuable thing you have is food, it's water, it's that type of thing. And ultimately, we do know that the powers that be are going to be coming after everything that we have. So what should you do? You store your treasure in heaven. above all else, no matter how rich Warren Buffett is or anybody else that's out there, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, whoever it is, nobody's going to take any of these things with them when they go. All of the things all of the wealth they've created, the buildings, the real estate, whatever it is, none of these things are going with them when they go. I encourage people, store your treasure in heaven, do the biblical things. As we watch and we wait, as Jesus said in Luke chapter 12, where we have a reward waiting for us, he also said to make ourselves ready. And how do we make ourselves ready? By doing the things that we're supposed to do. The prophet in the Old Testament said, hey, love to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Do those things, share the hope of Christ with other people, and recognize our Father in heaven is going to take care of us, and we don't have to worry, just as the birds of the air don't have to worry. Listen, we don't have to worry. So an economic collapse, it is eventually going to come. Will it come today? Will it come tomorrow? Will it come a year from now? I don't know, but it will eventually come, and there are already people in the world where they have been suffering from an economic collapse for a long time. But it eventually will come to the point where the Bible says as the world heads into the tribulation. But I don't try not to worry about those things. Prepare my heart, prepare my family as best as I can, but ultimately we store treasure in heaven. We ain't taking any of it with us when we go. All right, let's move on to the next story. Oh, by the way, don't forget, November 8, 9, and 10, we have the End of the World Conference coming in Temecula, California, 412 Church in Temecula. We had John Haller was my guest, 412 Church in Temecula the other day. Naftali, coming from Israel, October 13th, will be my guest, 412 Church in Temecula. But November 8, 9, 10, full-on conference. You've got to register to go to the conference. Eric Stackelbeck is one of the speakers that's going to be there, along with many others. David Tal will be there. Even James Cadiz will be speaking there. We have a long list of speakers. It's going to be an over-the-top conference. Pastor Brent Holdhouse and many others. Join us in person if you can in Southern California. Check it out at the website, hopeforourtimes.com. And as I mentioned, it is going to be an outstanding conference going Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be church, Sunday evening, late afternoon, evening, also continuing with the conference. All right, let's move on. Next story we have for now. Could Elon Musk actually be arrested and X canceled? Wow, you've got to be kidding me. No, I'm not. As someone who pays close attention to the politics and the media in the UK and Europe, I began to notice a shocking narrative, this article out of The Hill, emanating from a growing number on the left that were calling for the arrest of Elon Musk, as well as the cancellation of X. Surely I thought these people can't be serious, but they were, and they are deadly serious. For them, Musk has become public enemy number one. Before outlining the reasons for this, I have a serious question. Why have so many on the left and in the media seemingly fallen in love with centering free speech and canceling those who hold different opinions from themselves? I'm old enough to remember when Democrats, liberals, and the media were all about free and protected speech. This has become a chilling and dangerous trend. I'm also old enough to remember when Democrats, liberals, and the media raged against totalitarian regimes, silencing the voices of the opposition and calls for their arrest. Now they seemingly choose to weaponize censorship and lawfare for their own means. Now to address the line that Musk dared to cross, that is many calling for his cancellations or worse. It all came in the wake of a horrific stabbing and killing of 3 little girls at a Taylor Swift themed dance event on July 29 in England. Soon thereafter came massive unrest in the UK because of the attack, or around the UK because of the attack. Much of the left-leaning media and political intelligentsia in the country claimed the unrest began after right-wing activists used social media to spread misinformation about that knife attack. But others wondered whether authorities, by deliberately keeping details of the attack and the attacker to themselves by shading some of the information they did not put out, they did put out, allowed needless speculation, causing misinformation to grow and spread. The basis for much of the anger swirling around the killing of these 3 girls touched upon the open, unvetted, and illegal immigration, which has been going on in that nation for years. And Musk dared to touch that untouchable third rail by highlighting that issue while also questioning what seems to be a two-tier system of justice in the country. And it gets really interesting. Listen to this. While most set off the authorities and the cancel pushing in the left in the UK was Musk posting, "Civil war in the country is inevitable." Rather than address the concerns, results, and legitimate fears that millions of their fellow citizens have with regard to unvetted and uncontrolled immigration, some authorities and media figures chose to lash out at Musk. After Prime Minister, who Musk called two-tier Kier, posted on X, his government will not tolerate attacks on mosques or on Muslim communities. Musk responded with the question, shouldn't you be concerned about attacks on all communities? Apparently this really bothers them. Earlier this week, the left of center Guardian newspaper in the UK featured this ludicrous headline, inciting rioters in Britain was a test run for Elon Musk. Just see what he plans for America. Then they say Musk's a trial balloon to see how this goes. So what they're saying is Musk has intended to bring in civil unrest in the UK. He wants to bring in civil unrest in the US. Therefore, he must be arrested. Folks, you need to be paying attention to what is going on. All they want out there is the narrative. Over in the UK, I read a story here a couple of weeks ago where children as young as 5 years old are being taught how to spot misinformation. Well, how's that? By telling the children, if you go against the government, that's misinformation. So they're training up an entire generation to do this. We've been hearing this over and over. It is about censorship. And man, once they can control the narrative, shut down anything that they disagree with, listen, stifling free speech would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to us. And you look at America and where we are right now, disturbing to think that this is what they're trying to do. And it has already been happening. People who have been censored have come to a place, I don't need to mention any names like myself, where you end up self-censoring on certain platforms because you know it's going to get you in more trouble. You see where this is going. So we see the economic collapse. The economy is a weapon. It's a tool. Control the narrative, also massive tool, controlling speech. Only allow what the globalists want. And then there's this out of the Wall Street Journal. Amazon wants your palm and TSA wants your face. What saying yes will mean. You look at that, you're going, okay, here it is. So friends, it's not a coincidence that all of these things are happening at the same time. The economy, like we talked about, controlling free speech, threatening arrest of someone like Elon Musk, and we could say so much more about that if we didn't also have the same threats going on here. And then you look at this with digital tracking, your hand, your face. Listen, it's not a coincidence all of these things are happening. When Jesus came the first time, all of the prophecies, well over 100 of them were fulfilled. Some say even 300 prophecies regarding the first coming of Christ. Every single one of them were fulfilled, including the place he was born, Bethlehem. He was put upon a cross. He was pierced. He was crucified, on down the list. Not only that, but all of the prophecies regarding the second coming of Christ, we can start to see them to take form just as the Bible said. How could the Bible predict such things? The Bible is true. And as you look at it, as we see the different news going on, it's a reminder, listen, to draw near to the Lord will draw near to you. He will save anybody who will come to him. Call upon the name of the Lord, and he will save you. He will no way cast out anybody who comes to him. Hey, listen, join me again in November 8, 9, and 10 for the End of the World Conference. It's not the end of the world, but it's going to be following the election of November 5th. It's going to be following the election. To many, it's going to seem like the end of the world, but it won't be. It's going to be an absolutely over-the-top conference. Listen, see you today, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. John Haller and Bill Salas are going to be joining me right here in studio.